Welcome. Here at the Urban Herald, we often report on stories that shake a community. But today we're looking into something truly disturbing. A case where the most unthinkable crime hid in plain sight.
We're diving deep into our own reporting on the Piaui family poisoning case. It's a story that unfolded in Brazil, starting with suspicion and ending in a massacre that revealed a darkness few could comprehend.
Our focus is Parnaiba, Piaui.
Yeah.
It's known as this beautiful coastal city, right?
Yeah.
Lots of natural beauty.
Exactly, which makes the contrast even starker. Because behind the doors of one seemingly ordinary working-class home, a horrific tragedy was brewing.
And it wasn't a spacious home either. Our report details 11 people living in very limited space. You can imagine the potential for tension there.
Oh, absolutely. A real powder keg situation. And at the center of this initially was Francisca Maria da Silva. She was 32, a mother of 4.
But she'd already suffered an unbelievable loss just months before this main incident, hadn't she?
She had. And this is crucial to understanding the whole picture. Back in August 2024, 2 of her sons, Joao Miguel, who was 7, and Ulisses Gabriel, 8 years old, they died.
Died how? What happened?
They became violently ill after supposedly eating some cashew fruit. That was the story at the time.
And someone was blamed.
Immediately. Their grandmother, Maria dos Aflitos, and her partner, Francisco de Assis Pereira de Costa, we'll be talking a lot about him. They pointed the finger straight at a neighbor, Lucelia Maria de Conceição Silva.
Her.
They claimed she'd poisoned the boys because they took cashews from her property. A seemingly simple, albeit tragic, explanation.
And the authorities believe them.
They did. Lucelia was arrested. She spent 5 months in prison based on that accusation.
5 months. But our reporting uncovered something much, much darker about that August incident, didn't it?
Yes. Looking back, with everything we know now, that initial tragedy wasn't what it seemed. It appears to have been, well, almost a dress rehearsal.
A practice run. For murder.
Chillingly, yes. Our investigation suggests it was the opening act in a massacre plan from inside the family itself. The real culprits were right there, mourning, while likely planning the next steps.
Which brings us to New Year's Day, January 1st, 2025. A day that's supposed to be about hope, new beginnings.
Instead, it became a nightmare. The family had prepared a traditional Brazilian dish, rice and beans, cooked the day before, December 31st. It's a dish often associated with prosperity.
A symbol of good things to come.
Exactly. But this meal became the instrument of death. 9 people, family members, some neighbors who joined them, ate the dish.
And how quickly did things go wrong?
Very quickly. Within hours, people started showing horrifying symptoms. Violent tremors, terrible abdominal cramps, difficulty breathing, seizures.
Oh my God.
It was chaos. The first fatality was Manuel Leandro da Silva. He was only 18. He died in the ambulance.
And then?
Then little Igno Davi, just a baby, 1 year and 8 months old, he died shortly after getting to the hospital.
So initial thoughts must have been food poisoning, right? Maybe something else they ate.
That was the immediate suspicion. They'd apparently had some donated fish alongside the rice and beans. So naturally, the medical teams and investigators looked at the fish first.
But the fish wasn't the problem.
Oh, forensic tests came back completely clean, and that's when all eyes turned to that rice dish. The investigation was about to pivot dramatically.
Towards deliberate poisoning.
Precisely. The breakthrough came on January 6th. The Legal Medicine Institute confirmed the presence of turbufos in the rice samples.
Turbufos, I've heard that name. It's often called chumbinho in Brazil, right? A type of pesticide.
That's the one. It's an organophosphate pesticide, extremely toxic. And crucially, it's banned for any kind of domestic use because it's so dangerous.
How does it kill? What does it do to the body?
It's absolutely brutal. It attacks the central nervous system. Basically, it inhibits a vital enzyme, acetylcholinesterase, which leads to a cascade of effects, those muscle contractions, the respiratory distress, the seizures. It essentially shuts the body down. Even a tiny amount can be fatal.
And putting it in a shared meal like rice.
It's horrific. It turns a communal dish into a weapon. And the way it was done here suggests a terrifying level of planning.
How so? What did the forensics show?
Well, 2 things stand out. First, the poison often has a slightly delayed onset. This gives perpetrators time, potentially, to distance themselves, maybe create an alibi.
Okay, that's calculating.
And second, the analysis showed the turbufos wasn't just dumped in. It was mixed evenly throughout the entire batch of rice.
Evenly. So whoever did it wanted to make sure everyone who ate it got a lethal dose.
It certainly looks that way. It suggests careful, deliberate mixing. This wasn't an impulsive act. This was planned, methodical.
The human toll is just staggering when you list it out. 8 people dead in total. across both the August and January incidents.
It's devastating. After Manuel and baby Igno died on New Year's Day, more followed. 3-year-old Maria Luan died on January 6.
And Francisca Maria, the mother who lost her first 2 sons in August.
She succumbed on January 7th. Can you even imagine? Losing 2 sons, then 2 more children, and then dying yourself from the same poison all within months.
There's a quote from her, isn't there? Something she said before she died.
Yes, captured by local reporters.
Mm-hmm.
She described the horror of that New Year's Day. They finished eating and my boy started feeling ill right away, and then it was one after another. I didn't know what to do, whether to help one or help the other, just sheer helplessness.
And there was one more death after hers.
Yes, 4-year-old Maria Gabriela. She fought for 20 days in intensive care, but passed away on January 21st. 4 of Francisca Maria's children gone.
But the deaths didn't even stop there, did they? There was the neighbor.
Right. Maria Jocelyn da Silva. She had actually eaten the poisoned rice on New Year's Day, but initially survived and was discharged from the hospital.
But then she got sick again.
Mysteriously rehospitalized on January 22nd, and she died 2 days later on January 24th.
Why? Was it delayed effects of the turbufos? Or something else?
That death blew the case wide open. It strongly suggested this wasn't just about the initial poisoning. It looked like someone was actively trying to silence a witness.
Which turned the focus squarely onto who might want witnesses silent.
Exactly. And suspicion quickly fell on Francisco de Assis Pereira da Costa, the 53-year-old stepfather, Maria dos Aflitos' partner.
What made him stand out?
Several things. He was reportedly the last person awake on New Year's Eve, meaning he had the opportunity to poison the rice. But more than that, it was his behavior.
Like what?
Contradictions in his statements to the police, and witnesses and investigators, they all noted his shocking lack of emotion, almost detached while his family members were dying or critically ill. That's a huge red flag.
And was there a motive? Why would he do something so monstrous?
Our reporting, based on police investigations and witness accounts, uncovered a deep-seated resentment he had towards Francisca Maria and her children.
Resentment.
Yes. He apparently saw them as a burden, a financial drain. He used horrible, dehumanizing language, calling them primates, country bumpkins, just awful stuff.
So this wasn't just family squabbles. This was hatred.
It seems like a pathological level of hatred, yes. Neighbors talked about his increasingly erratic behavior in the months leading up, making veiled threats about wanting to clean house, get rid of the burden.
Living in such close quarters, that kind of animosity must have been suffocating. But to escalate to mass murder.
Psychologically, investigators believe he saw Francisca and her children as obstacles to his relationship with Maria dos Aflitos, obstacles financially. This festering resentment, combined with the opportunity, it created the foundation for this tragedy. He was arrested on January 8th.
But he wasn't acting alone, was he? The story takes another unbelievable twist.
Probably the most shocking twist of all. On January 31st, Maria dos Aflitos da Silva, the grandmother, Francisca Maria's mother, she confessed.
Confessed to what? Being involved in the New Year's poisoning?
Not just that, she admitted she was part of the conspiracy with Francisco from the start, but she also confessed to personally murdering the neighbor, Maria Jocelyn.
The one who died later.
She served her coffee laced with turbufos, the same poison.
Why? Why would she kill Jocelyn?
Her stated reason was absolutely chilling. She said she did it out of love for Francisco. The plan was to frame Jocelyn for all the murders, make it look like Jocelyn poisoned the family and then killed herself out of guilt.
Frame an innocent woman to protect the man she was conspiring with.
Oh.
That's incredibly twisted.
It reveals just how toxic and manipulative the dynamic between Francisco and Maria dos Aflitos had become, and there were further complications.
What kind of complications?
Reports suggested there might have been some kind of romantic involvement between Maria dos Aflitos and the victim, Maria Jocelyn, which adds layers of potential jealousy, betrayal, manipulation. It's a tangled dark web.
So the grandmother wasn't just a passive participant. She was actively involved in planning and carrying out murder.
Actively. Forensic psychologists analyzing the case talk about a possible shared psychosis, or folie à deux, the idea that Francisco's apparent delusions and hatred might have gradually infected Maria dos Aflitos' reality.
To the point where she saw her own daughter and grandchildren as obstacles to be eliminated.
That's the terrifying implication, that his manipulation, combined with the pressures of their living situation, warped her sense of loyalty and morality completely.
Meanwhile, the investigation, led by Detective Abimael Silva, was piecing all this together.
Methodically. They had the forensic evidence, the turbufos in the rice, the coffee cup. They had the contradictory statements from Francisco, and eventually the confession from Maria dos Aflitos. The pattern of hostility was undeniable.
And crucially, this investigation finally cleared the name of the neighbor who was wrongly accused back in August.
Lucelia Maria da Concecal Silva, yes. On January 9th, when tests confirmed there was no poison on those cashew fruits from the August incident, it became clear she'd been framed.
What a nightmare for her. 5 months in prison?
A terrible injustice. Released immediately, but imagine the trauma. Imprisoned based on lies told by the people who actually committed the murders.
Did they figure out how Francisco got the turbufos? Since it's banned for home use.
He apparently had connections from previous work in agriculture. That gave him access to these industrial-grade chemicals, which, really highlights a massive problem in Brazil.
The availability of these dangerous pesticides.
Exactly. Brazil is one of the world's biggest users of agricultural pesticides, many of which are banned in places like Europe or the US. And this illegal chimbinho, often tubufos, it pops up frighteningly often in homicides and suicides just because it's relatively accessible, even though it shouldn't be.
So the regulations aren't tight enough.
Critics argued they're far too permissive. Something like 450 different chemicals approved, a high percentage linked to chronic health issues. It creates an environment where obtaining these lethal substances for nefarious purposes is, sadly, easier than it should be.
And this case feels like it sits at the intersection of that issue and another one, family violence.
Absolutely. It's a brutal example of what experts call a hidden epidemic. Domestic violence, particularly extreme violence like homicide, often happens within these extended family networks, especially where there's economic stress and overcrowding.
Like the Silva household. 11 people, financial struggles.
It ticks all the boxes for high-risk environments identified in sociological studies in Brazil. Overcrowding significantly increases the risk. Add in the psychological factors we discussed, the simmering hatred, the access to poison. It became a perfect storm.
So where does the legal case stand now?
As of our last update, based on filings from March 25, 2025, both Francisco and Maria dos Aflitos have been formally charged. 8 counts of murder, 3 counts of attempted murder for the survivors.
Has there been a trial?
The process has faced delays. Francisco's defense team requested a psychiatric evaluation, which put things on hold. It's an incredibly complex prosecution, multiple victims, multiple crime scenes over months, the conspiracy aspect.
Looking back, what are the biggest lessons here? It feels like there were warning signs.
Tragically, yes. Francisco's open hostility, the earlier unexplained deaths of the 2 boys, the sheer tension in the house, these were red flags. It underscores the need for community awareness, maybe better social support systems to intervene before things escalate this far.
And the importance of really rigorous forensic work, right? The initial misdirection with the fish, the wrongful arrest.
Absolutely crucial. Poisoning cases are complex. You need thorough toxicology, but also you have to look at the whole picture, the family dynamics, the potential motives. You can't just take the initial story at face value.
And the pesticide issue seems unavoidable.
It really does. Stricter controls on access, better monitoring, maybe more education on the dangers. The ease with which turbufos was obtained and used here is a glaring systemic failure that needs addressing.
Has this case led to any changes on the ground?
We've heard that child protection agencies are using it as a case study for training helping social workers spot signs of family conspiracy or abuse, especially when investigating child deaths. And in Parnaiba itself, community leaders are trying to set up better support networks for families under stress, recognizing those risk factors.
We also need to remember the survivors. There were 3 people who ate the poisoned rice and lived.
Yes, their identities are protected, thankfully. But they're dealing with unimaginable trauma. Not just the physical after effects of turbufos exposure, doctors mention potential long-term neurological issues, but the psychological scars.
The betrayal. Knowing your own family members tried to kill you.
It's profound. Recovery needs very specialized support. We know the community has rallied somewhat, setting up funds for their medical care and education. Schools are also adapting protocols to help children who've experienced this kind of extreme family trauma.
It's just such a chilling convergence of factors.
Yeah.
Systemic issues like pesticide control meeting this incredibly intense, localized hatred and manipulation within a family.
And using food, the most basic symbol of care and sustenance, as the weapon. It fundamentally shakes your sense of safety within the family unit.
It really forces you to confront some uncomfortable truths. How protectors can become predators, how love, or perhaps a twisted version of it, can fuel unimaginable violence.
And the haunting question remains, could it have been stopped? If those earlier signs, those initial deaths, had been investigated differently, if the hostility had been addressed, we'll never know for sure.
This isn't just a true crime story we've unpacked from the Urban Herald archives. It feels like a stark warning about vigilance, about the need for stronger regulations, about understanding the dark potentials within human relationships, even within families. It leaves you wondering what unseen tensions might be simmering closer than we think. What stands out most to you as you reflect on this whole heartbreaking case?